Welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast, where we told you we're going to keep sharing life experiences. We have another amazing guest, Miss Yolanda Carter. But before I bring Miss Carter up to introduce herself, I'm going to run a little clip on her, and then she's going to introduce herself. And then, as you know, City Sid is going to kick off that first question. Okay.
Hospital shooting triggered a memory Carter wishes she could forget.
It took me back to March 22nd, 2016, where I was fighting for my life.
On that day, Carter woke up in a pool of blood. Her boyfriend beat her on the head with a hammer, leaving Carter for dead. In 2 years, she has endured 11 surgeries. Her left eye is gone, and every bone in the 51-year-old's face is broken.
Okay, that's part just to give you. This is going to be explicit, so we just want you to know their graphic details, and this may be touching to some, so we want to get that detail before we start. And now we're going to get into it. Miss Yolanda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yolanda Carter. I am a Chicago native, born and raised on the far south side of Chicago. I'm a mother of 5 adult children. I am an advocate for domestic violence. First of all, I'm a survivor, okay? Secondly, I am an advocate for domestic violence and also a CEO and founder of a nonprofit, Beautifully Scarred. It's a nonprofit organization for domestic violence, where we are dedicated to providing essential resources, compassionate guidance, and comprehensive information, helping victims and survivors. Okay, we collaborate with other organizations and collaborate, just so that we can give the resources that's available that everyone needs, so they can, find their way. Domestic violence is like taboo. No one wants to ever talk about it. So we just want to always shed the light and support you through this process.
Well, thank you again for being here with us this evening. We do like to ask of you, as we do with all of our guests, just to share a little bit about your childhood, how you grew up, what your home structure was like, just to see if sometimes we can draw parallels, between the trauma you've experienced and, what you were kind of brought into the world into.
Okay, well, my family dynamic, never seen any abuse growing up. I was very family oriented. My dad was a very good provider. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad, we was in private schools. It was 4 siblings, and we were all in private schools. I became a teen mom at the age of 16. Okay. My dad was the provider. He helped me take care of my son. My son is now 41 years old. And, just growing up, never even heard about domestic violence. That's something that was never even a topic in our household, never watched them argue or anything. So when I became a victim of domestic violence, it was something that was very foreign to me because I had no idea why did I have to be a victim of something like that. But we have to understand that hurts people, learn behaviors. My children's father, that was my first abuser, had no idea what domestic violence abuse was. It was never talked about. Like I said, it was never something that no one ever educated me on, because it wasn't something that it was modeled. So of course I had no idea. I met this guy when I was 19 years old. He was 25 years old. I was in hair school. I ended up having my first child. The abuse didn't start until my second child. And that's when it all just went down. He started telling me that I can't do things, isolating me from my family, taking my money. I was working, so he would twist my arm, take my money, punch me in my head, block my eye, those things. And I was like, wow, I never even knew why this had to happen. I even, told his mom, like, this is something that he was doing to me. And she acted like it was just normal, because she was like, is that all he's doing to you? And I'm like, wow, yeah, that's enough. So as time go on, um, abuse just, it seemed like it just started following me, you know. Um, you
Can I
know,
can I can I catch you real quick?
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. All right. We don't want you to go too far because we got a lot of questions to answer what you saying. So we probably gonna go back and some of the stuff will more than likely be repeated because this is gonna get deep and I already feel it in my soul.
Okay.
Um, I want to go back real quick. I want to ask. I want to go back to when you were 16, being a teen mom, just so other teen moms, if they're going or the support. What was it like being 16 as a teen mom? Did it change your life? Did family just step in and support you so that you could continue your journey?
Oh yeah, being a mom at the age of 16, um, it was really, it wasn't bad at all for me. I want to say for me because once I had my son, I was a junior in high school when I was pregnant. So my mom put me in a alternative high school, which was for pregnant teens. So I went there, and then when I had my son, after I had my son, it was time to go back to school in September. I went back and I end up graduating with my class and everything. And sometimes I felt like that I didn't want to go because I had 9 months sickness that, oh my God. But yes, being a teen mom could be very challenging, but I had a great support system. My mom and my dad, they stepped in. I didn't really have to do a lot but just go to school. And then after that, I was 17. After I graduated, I started working a job. So, I understand that sometimes when you are a teen, your life stops. But mine didn't have to stop. Like I said, I had an amazing mom, my amazing dad. My dad spoiled my son. This boy was able to get any and everything that he wanted. So my family dynamic was amazing. It was not hard at all.
Do you think that your upbringing, kind of being, I wouldn't say sheltered, but like, just kind of unaware of, kind of the perils of the world, do you think that is what made you, susceptible to teen pregnancy? Or, was there something else that you were dealing with, whether that was just the normal kind of teen self-esteem issues or, just kind of teenage woes? Like, what do you think kind of led you in that direction?
Well, I was not a fast. Well, I may have been a little fast, but I was not active. I didn't know because my parents always told me if you kiss a boy, you'll get pregnant. So my thing was like, no, 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 I'm not getting ready to kiss nobody. I ain't getting ready to do none of that because I'm not getting ready to have no babies or nothing until I let somebody persuade me. He was 19 years old. I was only 15 going on 16 when I met him, and I got caught up. I didn't tell my parents for a long time, and then it was already too late to do anything, and once I did that, I knew, I was like, okay. I Then another thing, I was sick 9 whole months, so that I couldn't hide that. You can't hide being sick every day. So just me myself, I had no issues with so low self-esteem, no daddy's issues or any insecurities or anything, because I thought I was that girl anyway, you know what I'm saying? So I had no hiccup, no problems in that area. I was just a free-spirited young lady. I like to go out, I like to do things, and that's just the way I was doing it. But my parents were a little strict because my mom, see, a lot of times that when it was time to go do things, if my dad didn't know about it, it was not going to happen. My mom was like, well, you have to talk to your dad first. It was just like that. It was not like, okay, mom, can I go? My mom was like, no, we have to check in with your dad. That's just how it was back then. And I appreciate that because right now, the way these young people are right now, they just do what they want to do. And it's time for us to, be parents. And my parents was definitely parents to me.
Now, did you have a good relationship with your baby father's side of the family? Were they involved?
Well, actually, I met him through his family members. I was really close with his cousin and the other side, like the not his mother, brothers, and none, because he lied and told his family, "Oh no, that's not my baby. She was sleeping around with somebody else." But granted, I never slept with nobody but him. I was a virgin, I was only like never knew what, never was introduced to it because our parents wasn't telling, giving us the talk of the sex talk because we wasn't supposed to do it. We knew not to do stuff like that. So it was never even talked about. It never came up in our family because it was just not like that. But he did lie, and for a long time my son was just and then another thing, he had a young lady that he was with, and he had her pregnant too. So basically he had me and someone pregnant at the same time, and because he lived on another side of town, I had no idea. And then that just kind of like it took me to a whole nother level, because that's like a form of some type of abuse when someone is hurting you like that, because especially discrediting you, lying on you, saying that you was this type of person when you not. So his family eventually, after years go on, they met my son. My son looks just like them, so they couldn't deny it. They don't even have to take a test because he looks just like them. And it was just that was just the hardest thing, just going through having a child, being a teen mom already, and then having a child by someone that didn't want to be honest and tell the truth about them impregnating me and already having another relationship. So he was already like on his third child.
That's terrible, Lord. Um, at the point of which you had your son, excuse me, your parents are helping you get through school, kind of picking up slack, where you may need support. Um, at that point, do you think that um, I guess more parenting was implemented, like, being as though they didn't talk to you really the first time about, intercourse, relationships, really, getting pregnant. Did y'all have, this time around, what expectations should be, or how to prevent this from happening again, or, kind of tools to not run into the same type of person that you ran into? Like, was there, any kind of further parenting that you needed, or guidance at that point after having your son already?
Well, actually, my dad was like I said, he was a very strict person, but my mom, she wasn't the type of mom that had those type of conversations. She would just wish, just would hope better for me. She didn't want me to out there doing those things and stuff like that. So eventually, I just went and put myself in, after graduation and stuff, I end up becoming a hairstylist, going to hair school. I love glam, I love beauty, so I just, wanted to go to hair school. And I did work a job first. I worked for Dearborn Wholesale Grocery. I was a key puncher for the big companies at, the grocery stores all over this different places and everything. But my dad was very, very disappointed in me. And, of course, you don't want to disappoint your parents. So you were kind of like, slow down and just do what you have to do just to, deal with the consequences that came with it. Like I said, and my parenting, I didn't know how to be a parent. I didn't know anything about it, but I learned how, because it does not, first of all, come with instructions. And once we become a parent, we just learn as we go. And also, like I said, my dad and my mom was right there. So it wasn't hard at all for me. It was just something that was easy, which granted, I end up at the age of 20 having my second child. So, you know, you would think that, okay, Yolanda, you should have learned the first time. You're not, you know, s- stable, but you are working, and I should have just held out. But I met this next person. So, you know, and things happen.
Hmm. And I
And,
guess this is the last question I have on this. Did your baby father ever come around and acknowledge that was his son and step up to the plate, and then after that, what advice would you give young teenager females to prevent from having a child and just kind of focusing in school and
Okay.
waiting?
Well, yeah. So eventually he did come around, and then with him and his current girlfriend, we did, co-parent good. And then, my son was able to connect with them. We would take the kids to the show. And yeah, so we would do them. But him, he never did anything for him. He was like a father, just a donor, basically. But he was, coming to get him. He lived in another, in Maywood, and we lived on the south side of Chicago. So it was just that, he would, have him to spend the night with them and everything like that. But as a teen mom, first of all, stay in school. Um, Make a person respect you. Don't just it's something that we don't know, as teenagers. We think that it's love, and we trust the people that's going to hurt us in the end. So I just want to say to a young mother right now, or a teen mom, or someone that's just trying to figure their way out, always remember that you have time for that. Get your career going, go get your school. And if it's someone that you really, really want to be with, that's when you make those type of situations. I mean, those type of, you go down that route. Don't just have babies by different people. I learned from that, and that was not a good thing, having a baby from this person, then have a baby from that person, and stuff like that. So always know what you want and who you want to be with. We were in the era back then, is that you don't have babies out of wedlock. You don't supposed to do that. And I done it, and I don't agree with no one else having to do that, falling down my path, the path that I went down. I wouldn't suggest no one to do that. So just always just do what you have to do first. That's important. That's the most important thing. Going to school, getting your career. First of all, make them respect you. I don't care about love. Love is not nothing when it comes down to respect. You can say I love you all day long, because loving is the word, and it's a term of endearment and respect. I would rather for you to respect me than you love me and tell me you love me.
Absolutely. I do recall you saying, that before having your son, you were kind of a lively personality, going out, having fun. Did you find that things changed for you after the baby was born? Or, were you able to, at least keep that spirit about yourself?
Oh, I was able to keep the same spirit about myself, because, like I said, I had an in-house babysitter. My mom was always the babysitter, and if I wanted to do something, she would just let me be me. She would let me do the things that I wanted to do, just as long as it was respectful, not coming in all wee hours of the night and stuff like that. So it was just a respect thing, and it went well for all of us. It was a great thing, but at the end of the day, uh it could have been better. I could have been a better person. Not saying that I was a bad mom or anything, but like I said, I was only a teenager. I was only 16. And then I had to get ready for school. I still had to go to school, which I could have dropped out, but that was not an option for me. I wanted to make sure that I go to school, and get me a job, and make sure I'm able to provide for my children. And that's what I did.
Love it. So, your next steps, you mentioned that you went on, graduated, started school, met a man at 19. got pregnant at 20. Can you tell us a little bit about the start of the relationship? Because it sounds like he started abusing early.
Right. Okay. So when I met him, it was just like I met a knight in shining armor. Very, you know, handsome. And, just he was older. He was like 25 years old, and I was only 19. So that was very intriguing to me. And he had a car. He was able to take me to school and do the things that I needed to do. But that's when I was in school, hair school, and he was a womanizer as well. But because your heart knows what it wants, and you kind of like allow things to happen even though you don't like it, and you feel like you don't have a voice anymore. You don't know if, like, I'm not going to say anything because just the sake of probably losing this person or whatever the case may be. And that's what I went through, a lot of that, because I loved him. I mean, it didn't matter, like, man, I love this person. So I allowed myself to go through abuse, even even though I seen the red flags. I didn't know at that time what red flags were, but I was able to learn it on the back end. Okay. I never, like I said, never knew anything about what domestic violence was. I didn't know anything about how you verbally abuse someone. All I knew is that he used to just give me this specific stare, and it was like, get in line. It was that type of stare and look that if looks can kill, you will be, out of here, right? So, he would do little things, have other women and just tell me, oh, these are just friends or whatever. Even have me in the car with them, and they probably know that they the other girl, but I had no idea. I'm just thinking that these are just people he just riding around. I'm only 16, 17. I mean, I'm only 19 years old. I didn't know. I was just lost, and I trusted him. And then, he ended up coming to stay with me. I had my own apartment at the age of 18. So, when you have children, you have to, my family had a family building. So I was on the third floor. My grandmother was on the second floor, and my mom and dad was on the first floor. So it was just something that, when the abuse started, it was very like subtle. It was something that I hid. I was afraid to tell somebody because I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. I didn't know how to tell my parents or he would also, he had started using, narcotics, drugs. And I think a lot of that started the abuse as well. Um, he would not allow me to look out the window of my apartment. I remember that I wanted to go to a wedding with my family, and he told me, "No, you will not go." And I would ask him why. He said, "Because I said so. So you will not go. You're gonna do what I tell you to do." So that was just like the onset of the abuse starting, and I just didn't understand. And I started hating myself because I was allowing someone to take my power away from me. I was allowing him to tell me when I can do anything, even when we were driving in the car. I couldn't look over in the out the window in the next car because in his mind, I knew the person that was in the car. So it was a lot of up and down with that situation. And then just having the child, it added like, more fuel to the fire where he would just take the kids away from me. When I had my second daughter, he would not allow me to parent her. He wanted to be the one that when I had her, he would, be on the side of the bed. He would grab her, he would feed her, he would do all those things. He would not allow me to do it. And that was a very hard thing, but I still didn't know how to address it to him, or, I just didn't know what to do. So I just accepted it. I just allow him to continue to hurt me. And then after he abused me, he would force, intercourse. And then I would have to do it, because if I didn't know what the consequences would be. So I end up just doing it just the sake of just, you know, keeping him happy. And it was just a lot of up and down in that situation. And eventually I was able to break free. And can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we can
yeah,
hear
we can
you.
hear. Yeah, we hear
I
you.
did.
I think
I did
Sid
have.
ready to jump in.
I did have a quick question. What do you believe, or from your, what you can remember, was the worst kind of interaction with him, or the most dangerous one, or the one where you really felt like it was it? Was there like a significant moment that you do remember?
Well, I can say two. The first one was I had just got paid, and we were on our way, but that's when we didn't have bank accounts and stuff like that at that time. We would have to go cash our checks at the currency exchange. So that one particular time we were in the car, and I was, I had went and got my check and everything. And when I was going to get my check and I had the cash on me, he started twisting my arm, pulling my hair out by the roots, kicked me out the car, and took my money. And that right there told me, like, this is not normal. Who do that to a person that they say they love? And then the second one was he punched me in front of people in my nose, made my nose bleed, and then threw like hard objects at me. And I was crying, and I called my dad. I called somebody, and I told him, I was like, he's hurting me or he's hitting me. And he acted like I was crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about. And he was like, "Oh, why you crying? I ain't doing nothing to you." And that right there, it was just like put the icing on the cake. Like, man, he wanna make like I'm delusional, or I'm just making this up on him, which I'm not. And I just, I started changing. I started getting cold with him. And that was just something that I just was like, it's been a long time coming. I didn't, and then I started feeling bad for treating him the way I was treating him, because I have compassion for people. Even though they hurt me, I still had compassion for the person that hurted me. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's not you were dealing with a narcissist. That make a whole lot of sense. Listening to it, I want to jump back a little bit, because you said that your dad was on the bottom, your grandma was in the middle, you were on the top.
Hmm.
Was he abusing you while y'all were all in the family building together? And
Absolutely.
so I want to, none of your family members heard him abusing you?
No, actually, he would do it in a way that they would not, nobody would know it. Even the kids. Um, he would do it like we were in the bedroom. The children were, doing whatever they were doing, like, because that was like my first child. He was only I want to say about 5 or 6 years old. And then I had the girls, because the full blown the full blown abuse didn't start until after I had my second daughter. The first the first daughter, he was just giving me those stares, those looks, and he never put his hands on me, but it was just that was probably just leading up to it, telling me I can't do the things. No, you can't do this, and keeping me away from people, isolating me from my friends, family, and loved ones. Um, I'm all he have, and that's it. And trying to keep me away from people. That was the onset of the starting of the abuse, which I had no idea. So yeah, the answer to your question, no, my family did not know until at the end I did tell my dad, and my dad did come upstairs, and and he told him, if you put your hands on my daughter, it's not going to be nice for you. My dad had his peacemaker with him. because my dad didn't know that this was going on, and he will not allow. He don't put his hands on my mom, so you're not going to put your hands on my daughter. So that was something that, yeah, my grandmother, she was the type of person, she didn't really like me anyway. She had her picks. You know, those grandmothers back in the days, they had their picks, and I guess I was not her pick. And I used to be, trying to be like, "Hey, grandma," and then she'll swear out and speak to her, just treating me mean. And my mom, she treated me and my mom mean, but she treated my other siblings really nice, and she would buy them things, and I would barely get anything. Like when it come down to money and stuff, she would make sure they had what they needed, but not me. And she got mad at me because she said I had a baby and I must have told my sister to go do it and have a baby. And she was mad at me for that too, said it was my fault that my sister older than me had a baby. So she tried to blame me for a lot of the stuff. And I was like, wow, I didn't understand it. But, that's just life was life, and like part of life.
Yeah. When your dad said his piece, with his piece, um, how did that go? Were we in an act of compliance after that, or did it not last long after that? Like what
Well,
came of that situation?
Well, okay. Well, actually, it kind of like settled down just a little bit, but it didn't stop. It didn't stop. Um, it was just periodically, he would do things. And I just didn't I never under because I'm not a confrontational person. I'm like, I listen. All you have to do is say, "Hey, can you do this, that, and the other?" You don't have to put no demands on me or anything to make me or make you feel like you have to be in control. But I guess some men feel like they have to do that to women to be like in control. And I just never understood why. And then I would run away, me and the kids, and he would find us and he would come and get us. And that's what I was like, why would you abuse me and then want to come back and get me so you can abuse me even more? That didn't make any sense to me, you know. So,
So you had people that knew that you were being abused. Um, did they ever try to step in any kind of way to help you?
well, they would have, I believe, but because of me not really um telling them like when it would happen, all the times it would happen, I would make it seem like everything was always okay. Because I guess for the sake of the don't knowing what would happen, so and to keep the peace with everybody. And then a lot of times what people don't realize, we can keep telling people, "Oh, this person is abusing me and they doing this, that," but we end up still staying. And that's the problem. When we are being abused by someone, we continue to stay. And that's when people be like, "Well, I'm not going to help them anymore because you're going to continue to stay. And why am I putting myself into something and getting into it with this person? And you're going to continue to be there." So I just didn't say anything when it always happened because I didn't want to
You
put
hit that
my
on the
family in it.
nose. You hit that on the nose.
Right. I didn't want to put my family into that. So, until it was just a point where it got bad or whatever that I just couldn't take it anymore. But God stepped in. God stepped in, and I didn't have to do none of that because God removed him anyway. God removed him out of my house, and he violated his parole, and he got incarcerated. So God fixed him anyway at that time. So that was the end of that chapter. I end up, meeting someone else, and that was basically what saved my life at
So
that
just
time.
just just to clarify, this one is not the one that abused you with the hammer.
No,
Okay.
no.
So yeah, before we go deep into a relationship that is not the the meat and potatoes of the story. Um, tell us a little bit, I guess, about the next steps. Was this entering into the relationship with this person
No,
that changed your life? This whole course of things, or did you date a little bit after or before that? Before meeting this person.
I did. Actually, I was in and out of different type of relationships. They were not like short relationships. They were like maybe 5 and 6, maybe 7 year long term relationships between times. Okay, so I want to say I was in 2 more relationships before I met that almost took my life. Okay, it was just all of them had the same characteristics, and they were all abuse, and it wasn't physical abuse. It was more so a lot of things that we don't realize and identify with is that abuse does not start off physical. Okay, and because it wasn't physical, I was still able to think that I was in these good relationships. They would put me on their joint accounts. They would make sure I had money, buy me brand new cars off the lot, and they worked good jobs. And I just thought that was a good man, even though I didn't have a voice, even though I wasn't able to speak my piece, or they were shutting me down, or, just things that you would think that's normal. We normalize a lot of dysfunction, even though we don't know what it is. I had no idea that those other relationships prior to the relationship that I met the guy, because I met him at a repast from someone from the around the block passed on, and I was already in a long-term relationship, but our relationship was a little sour, and it was getting to the point that we were about to break up. I was with him for 11 years. And it was just something about this guy when I met him. He was that tall, handsome. He was really like someone that you would look at as being a public official. I mean, walking suit, job, good. I mean, I thought this man was like, oh my God, heaven sent. So we were just sitting around at the repast, just chopping it up, having a conversation. And that conversation led to him inviting me over to his house, cooking for me. I mean, doing all these nice things, and we just on the phone. And I was really intrigued about him, and how did he like to do things? And he was so, he was just everything at that point I thought I needed. My ex guy, I mean, we would do date nights every week. But he was in a relationship he was still married. He wasn't with her, but they were still married. But then eventually he would just go back and forth, back and forth. It was like about a back and forth thing with me and his wife or something. And I got tired of it. And then, it was just like we would work together. He bought me a brand new car, doing all these great things for me. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was missing something. So I started, just getting, involved with this other guy. And when I got involved with him, it just like went from one thing to another. I started seeing some things in the beginning, and they were red flags. The writing is always on the wall. I can admit to that. The writing was always on the wall. He started off not, he would isolate himself, not talk to people days at a time. And I thought, like, man, what's wrong with you? And one day we went to a party, and we end up seeing someone that I knew, but in his mind, me and this guy was dating or whatever, which was it never happened. He embraced me, he gave me a hug, and then this guy he was with me, and of course he didn't have a car. I'm the one was driving us everywhere. somewhere, or he would drive my car. And he would not. He stopped talking to me because the guy hugged me. Right there, that's number one red flag. If you get mad at me because of somebody hugging me that I know or have me all my life, you have some issues going on. And I just was like, okay. So we was at this place. He did not talk to me, but I knew I was gonna have to take him home. Eventually, he started talking to me, and then it would go back like ain't nothing ever happened. Every time we would go through a little hiccup or bump on the road, it will always be something that there was never an apology. There was never something that he would, how hold himself accountable for. It was just like, okay, we don't even have to talk about that. Let's move forward, basically. And that's just how I end up living my life. I didn't know that you're supposed to try to reconcile, have a conversation with. And then if I did say something, they would always try to shut you down.
I
Oh,
have a I
go
have
ahead.
a real quick question while we're on it. What is a person, because we're both in the domestic violence field, and it's beautiful because we take accountability now. We see
Mhm.
what caused you knowing that you shouldn't have went back, but you kept going back. What was the inside of you? What do you feel why you kept going back?
I think a lot of it was a lot of compassion that I had for this person. Um, I had some love. I did love him. I didn't want to see me hurt this person, so I kept psyching myself into staying. Even though part of my mind would say, you should be done with this, Yolanda. It's over with. I'm still talking to myself, saying that, I deserve better. I don't want to be in this or nothing, but I was still keep falling down that rabbit hole, still staying, with this person. I tried to put him out a couple of times, but because of the compassion and the way I felt about him, he would cry, "Oh, I love you. I'm sorry," and you know how they do, and we just like we start falling back into that trap all over again. And it wasn't that I didn't love myself or I had low self-esteem or insecurities. It was just that I had compassion for this person and I didn't want to see him hurt. And even though he would hurt me, I didn't want to hurt him, if that makes any sense.
It definitely does. Um, Now, the story you were telling us previously or going into, was that the kind of the incidents leading up to him assaulting you, almost taking your life?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
So
So you
yeah,
can we can pick up from there, where you said the gentleman hugged you and that was an
yes.
issue.
Right. So okay, so that right there was the first, that was the very first incident. The second incident was my cousin needed a TV. And he come in contact with so many things. He always have things. And he was my mechanic when I needed somebody to work on my car. He was just like the Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, not Dr. Jekyll, but he was what you say, call on people that have everything that you need. So he was able to. He had a TV, and my cousin needed a TV at the time. So he was like, "Hey, let her know I got a TV, and then just bring her over, and then you can come and get it or whatever." So I picked her up, and we went over to his house, and we was going to get the TV. Remind you, I did tell you that I was still in a relationship with this other guy. We were still living together, but our relationship was a little, it was going downhill. It was like we was in the process about to break up or whatever, but we still trying to hold on, I guess. So, um, as we were over to his house, he called me because I know every break he calls me. He's the one that paid for my phone, bought the phone, and he had me on his joint account and did all of this stuff. So he called my phone, and after I got off the phone with him, the guy was like, "Let me see your phone." I'm thinking that he want to see it for something, or he wanted to, use it or whatever. You took the phone and he threw it down the alley. I was like, oh my God. Oh, now, how am I going to explain to this guy what happened to my phone? This man got mad because he knew that we were still together, but in his mind, he don't want me with him, but we living in the same house. So that should have already made me say, you know what, enough, this is it. So he threw my phone down the alley. My cousin was like, we were both in disbelief. We couldn't believe it. So I was just trying to figure out ways, what can I say and tell this guy that what happened to my phone. So I came up with a story and said, hey, I was down. I must have lost my phone. I think my phone was up on top of the car and I forgot to get it off or whatever. I drove off. I mean, I made it sound good. So he didn't really drill me about it and say, oh, yeah, you lying or nothing like that. He didn't do that. So after that, that was the second thing that he did. The third thing he told me, we were having some kind of disagreement. I don't even know. Half the disagreements and stuff that we had, I can't even tell you what they were about because, like I said, I'm not confrontational. It was always something that he created in his mind, and we would just have a little disagreement about it. So he told me, he got in my face one day, and this is what the part that I just always want people to understand. If a person tell you or show you who they are, you have to believe them, okay? He told me if I was anything like I used to be, I will crush your dome, which is meaning that he will, be damn near beat my brains out, okay? So I'm like, man, you ain't gonna do nothing to me. I'm gonna call the police and you'll go to jail and all this stuff. And I just didn't believe him because I'm like, no, this man loved me. I mean, he had me feeling that I was like, he was a knight in shining armor. And he did so many, 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 many great things for me and had me feeling like I was just that perfect person, that princess, or if I'm a statue and I move the wrong way, I would break. That's the way he had me feeling, that he loved me. I mean, this man, it was nothing that he would not do for me. Nothing. Anything that I wanted and needed or whatever, he had me. I mean, he had my front, my back, my side. He had me all. So I was like, okay, so then eventually I end up start putting him out. But like I said, because of the compassion, I start feeling bad. He would cry and I would let him back in. Okay. So I put him out a total of 4 times. And my son was like, Ma, you should just leave him alone, just put him out. Because now my son is seeing some things happening. He would start locking me out of my bedroom door, calling me, my kids out of our names, calling me the B word, and, doing a lot of little things and calling them, y'all ain't gonna amount to nothing. Y'all not gonna be nothing. And I had to tell him, if you ever disrespect my children, don't you ever do that. You can be here today or tomorrow. Don't you ever disrespect my children. So he never did that because I didn't want my children to look at me in that type of way. Like, man, mama, you going to allow him to disrespect us? So I couldn't. I'm a mother first. I would not allow no one to disrespect my children. So that just led up to a lot of other stuff. It was just one thing after another. And I think that that's when it was starting to really start going bad. He would just all of a sudden just wake up, or no, what happened was I found out eventually this man would start using drugs. He would use my car around the time, his check would land in his bank account at 12 a.m. in the morning. So he would go saying that he's going to the casino. I mean, he would say he was going to fill my car up, go cash his check. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then eventually he would start talking about, oh, I'm at the casino. But remind you, he had me on his joint account so I can look and see where he's at on through the account. It could tell me what's going on in that account. It was at the Chase Bank. So how you at the casino and you keep going back and forth to the Chase Bank? So he would start withdrawing a lot of his money out the account. But the thing is, I was on that joint account and I started seeing him taking money out. I was like, no, no, no. I'm getting ready to start withdrawing this money. And I started taking it out of his account and putting it in my account so that way we could pay these bills. So he ended up coming back. He would come back with my car and act like ain't nothing happened. I was like, so where were you at? Oh, I was in the casino, which I know better. But one thing I can say about this man, no matter what he did, if he did do anything, and that was just like the onset of his abuse, drug abuse, because I found out in the end after everything happened that it had just started him using drugs. And I was telling him one day, I was like, you doing things, you moving differently. You're acting like a crackhead, or you know, not crackhead because it hadn't gotten bad like that. It just was just at the point where you would go somewhere and you would not come back the time that you would say. And it was like, you know, you can always tell when a person is moving differently. I realized that was a different way he was moving. So he ended up, you know, leading up to um the day before this was, we're gonna go to March. February, everything was okay. It was my parents' birthdays and all that stuff. We had parties for them. And he started like, I kind of like isolating himself, not coming around, showing up to different things that we used to all, because he was always the life of the party. And everybody used to be like, where he at? Where he at? Oh yeah, where he at? And everybody be like, where, you know, and we was always be like, well, I guess I would make up excuses, be like, I don't know, he don't feel good or whatever like that. So just to, you know, do small talk. So March came around and it was like a little strange, but he asked me to you know, because I was still working both my jobs. And I said, oh man, he said, won't you quit one of your jobs? So I was like, no, I don't want to quit my job, but I end up letting him, you know, just get me to quit my job. So I end up quitting my job, one of them. So while I quit my job, that means that I had access to, you know, taking him to work, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, him because he was had a, you know, bus pass. So he manipulated me to tell me, you know what, since you know this money that I use for the bus pass is, you can keep that money in your pocket. You can just take me to work and pick me up or whatever. And it would sound good to me. So I did it. I end up letting them trick me into doing it. So I end up not taking him to work. He would I would take him to the bus stop because I would have to be at work at 7 myself. So he would go to the bus stop. I drop him off, but when it's time to pick him up, I would pick him up for 3 o'clock. I would pick my son up for school, and then I would go pick him up. So this was like a routine we had, and you know, I just was like, okay. But eventually, this one particular time in March, okay, so we're going to go to March 19th. We both got up like a normal day. Everything was normal. There was no argument. There was no disagreement. There was nothing. I mean, it was just so like perfect. It was a Friday. I never forget, but he got paid that day. He didn't even ask me to take him to work or pick him up. He didn't ask me to do none of that. So I thought I was like, okay, well, he ain't gonna ask me. I'm not gonna volunteer. So I end up going to work. I dropped my son off at school. And then when it was time to come back, um, I did the routine all over again. I took myself to go pick my son up, and then I, you know, got from work, and we just proceeded to go home. So as I'm going home, I made sure I got home, got comfortable, and chilled out or whatever. But there was no call, there was no show. He didn't even return that day. So I'm like, something ain't right. This man got paid. I started looking at the account. Money started coming out the account. And I'm like, okay, so I could have just took all the money out. I didn't take none of it out. I didn't do anything. I was just at the point that I just was like tired. I had already started putting some of his clothes in bags, because I was like, I'm going to put this man out of here. And, I was just getting to the point I was getting tired. And, not saying that I didn't love, I just was no longer, I was not in love. I loved him because he was very good to me at the time. He was doing nice things, but he was changing. And we there was no call, no show for the remainder of that night. So Saturday came around. I took my son downtown to an arcade game and out to dinner or whatever. He never called, never showed up or anything. So it was time to go home. Um, he never called. So I didn't even call him. I just left everything alone. So the next day was Sunday. I received a call from him, rang back maybe like 7 or 8 o'clock that night. He started calling me back to back to back because I was just like, I didn't want to answer. I didn't feel like being bothered anymore. You were gone. You stay where you at. I don't care anymore. So I just left it alone. And then, the calls just was back to back. Oh, answer the phone, just getting very aggressive and belligerent. And I just eventually just cut my phone off. So I knew that eventually the next day was March 20th. I was going to have to answer the call. So I got up, go to work on that Tuesday, that Monday, I'm sorry, that Monday. My son go to school. So I started getting a call around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I picked up my son and he called and I answered the call. I said, yes, may I help you? He said, are you at home? Remind you, I don't know if he was just trying to test and see if I was going to lie or whatever. So I said, no, I'm not, because I wasn't at home yet. I had my son. I dropped my son off. But little did I know, I did not know that he had seen me drop my son off. I didn't know none of this until after everything happened. My son told me everything. So he seen him in the cut, but I didn't see him because I was dropping my son off. And then I was like, okay, well, son, I'm gonna go get us something to eat. So I was living in Hyde Park, and in that area, it was all restaurants over there and everything. So I just went over there and got something to eat. So I decided to like, okay, let me go and get us something to eat. So on my way back, he started blowing my phone up again. Are you at home? But you know that I'm not at home. Like I said, I think he just wanted to keep calling me like that to see if I'm gonna lie. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So I end up coming back, proceeded to find a parking space. But the Holy Spirit told me, I don't know why, but told me to park my car around the corner. I had no idea why. The Holy Spirit told me to park my car around this corner. So I'm parking my car around the corner. I proceeded to walk up towards the building around the corner. So by the time I got to the building, I didn't see him at first because he had himself wedged in the doorway where I couldn't see him because the way the building was made, you can wedge in the doorway because that's where the bell system is. And he was, lying and praying on the bell. I guess he was getting angry because my son didn't open the door for him. And I didn't even know that he had seen us, but he seen my son, me drop him off. I guess he was mad at my son too and mad at me that he just, I guess, got angry. So I end up getting to the doorway. So by the time I got to the doorway, I got there and he stepped out on me and I froze. I was like, oh my God, I was shocked because I wasn't expecting him. I wasn't expecting to see him. So as me not seeing him, I'm like, he started asking me questions like, oh, I thought you were, and I said, you see, I'm back now. I'm home now. So he was like, as we were coming up the stairs, because he didn't have any keys to my house. That's one thing he didn't have. He didn't have no keys to my house. I was able to, I was the one that's controlling that. You, if I want you in, you come in or not. If I don't want you in or whatever. But he start saying, oh, the doctor said, and I'm stressed out. instantly something clicked in my mind. I don't know why. I was like, what if he do something to me or try to say that he doing something and he want to act like he got some type of issues or wants mental problems or something. That's why he snapped or whatever. That's the first thing came to my mind. But he came upstairs, we sat down, and the first thing he asked me, can I take a shower? And the first thing I said, man, no, you can't take no shower. You know what I'm saying? And because I felt like he just playing with me, just trying to get a reaction out of me. So I'm like, no, you cannot take a shower. Then I was like, no, go on, take your shower, get yourself together for whatever you got to do. And I'm like, I thought everything was cool. So, as that time go on, I didn't remember this, but my son told me, he said, Mom, he asked you for the key card because in our building we had a key card to do your clothes and everything for your washing. And he said, I gave him the key card for him to go washing or whatever. He came back. And by the time he came back, he ended up getting to bed because he had to be both of us would have to be uh, at work at 7 a.m. in the morning. So we would get up at like 5 a.m. every morning. So he got into bed. I wasn't ready to go to bed. And that was his issue with me because he wanted to, he's 11 years older than me. He's an older man. And I was just like, I'm still like, I want to be on my Facebook. I want to look at TV. I just wanted to do me. I wasn't ready to go to bed. So when I realized that it was 10 o'clock, I ended up going in the bedroom. And I had all of my white, pure, stuff on my bed. It was just so beautiful. And he was just laying there, and I looked at him like, oh, how you be looking like, oh, he's just laying in my stuff like this. So I end up coming out the room, yeah, and then he was sound asleep at 10 o'clock that night. So as I come out the room, I came back into the living room and just did me, like I said, I was on the phone. I was just doing what I wanted to do. And then at like 12 o'clock, turned around, came around, and I knew that because I had to be at work at 7 a.m. So it was time, okay, Yolanda, it's time for you to, lay down, get ready for bed. So 12 o'clock came around because I had already showered and all that stuff, all the good stuff already. So I was like, okay, let me go to bed. So I end up going to bed, but I didn't wake up the same way I went to sleep. I all I can remember is um some blows. I remember um sounding like something was rattling in my brain and telling me you're snoring ying, ying, ying. And that must have been those blows to my head. So when I realized I didn't realize what was going on. I had no knowledge of what going on. The next time I realized that something was going on was when the paramedics and the fire department and my son shaking me. And that's when I realized that my knight in shining armor tried to take my life. He beat me with a hammer, leaving me in a pool of blood to die. And that's when it got real. Um, I didn't really understand why someone could have done something like that. Um, I was in and out. I didn't know what was going on. My son, when the paramedics, and when they always ask you, is that, do you know who did this? I asked them, first of all, when I looked in the mirror, because I looked in the bed and the brain matter and all that was in the bed, and I'm bleeding out of my nose and my mouth, and I just couldn't understand what had happened to me. And when I finally regathered myself and I was talking to them and telling them, don't let me die. And they were so hysterical themselves. And they was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, she's alive, she's alive. And I kept telling them, I just said, don't let me die. And they said, you're not going to die. And I was like, I didn't know what to think at that time because I was just trying to live. So they got me to the nearest hospital, which was right down the street. And when I got down the street, I was in so bad of a shape that they said that there was nothing they could do for me there at that hospital. My son had already called my daughter and her husband. And my baby, normally he would be at my daughter's house, that's sister mom, because all of my kids are older and he's the baby. And he would always be at my daughter's house, but it was just a blessing and a miracle that he stayed at home with me. And it was something that they wouldn't allow him to come because he wasn't 18 yet. He was only 17, 16, 17. And yeah, he was 17 at the time. And they wouldn't, he had just turned 17 actually. And they wouldn't let him come back. So my daughter and her husband, she was afraid to come back because she told her husband, she was like, you go first to see, if everything is okay. And normally, they'd be like, well, is it bad or bad? And then when her husband came back and told her it's bad, and when she got there, she just was like, she didn't know what to do. So what she did was, when she seen me, they had like a cup over my eye that I was still bloodied and everything. And they said that she was like, well, why can't you all clean her up or something? They said no, because this is a crime scene. So after that, they were working on me, just trying to, my head open. I mean, like, they told me that, ma'am, we don't even know how you are here because these injuries that you sustained, nobody survived these. So I said, but God, because I could remember every night. I laid every night with my Bible open on my side every night. God shielded me. He protected me. He allowed me to be here. And my daughter was like, she don't know what to do. So they started trying to see if I can see out of my eye. And I just, every time they would put the light on there, they would try and try and try. I was like, I can't see anything. And they worked on me trying to see. And they was like, there's nothing we can do for you here. We have to send you to a trauma center. So before all of they doing that, they had to make a decision, and they had to ask my daughter, is it okay that we take your mom's eye out? And my daughter had to make a decision, and she asked me, she said, Mama, is it okay? And I said, whatever they got to do to keep me alive, it'll be okay. And they ended up having to put a metal plate in my skull because my cranium, everything was crushed. All of my facial bones were broken and shattered on the left side. My teeth were so unstable that they had to put braces on my teeth to build the bones back. But I am here to tell my own story, and no one telling my story for me. And I'm just so thankful that God chose me to use me as a vessel for me to be out here advocating for other survivors and victims of domestic violence. Because it starts off so subtle. It's something that we don't even know that it can happen before it is still really happened. We think that the person that we with, oh, he's not gonna do this. He loves me. He'll never hurt me. But we have to always remember that hurt people hurts people. And because of when we look at that, we think that it will not be your story. You don't think that this can happen to you. It can happen. Your life can change in one blink of an eye. My life changed. My life was so turned upside down, so disrupted. But I do not allow what happened to me define me. It did not stop me. It will never stop me from helping someone else because I know that what happened to me, it was not for me, it was for someone else. And when we go through these situations, we think that we're the only ones that's going through it, but we're not. There's someone else going through this, and we can give them some type of hope. There's resources out there to support you. So don't never think that you want to just keep this to yourself. Don't never suffer in silence because you're not alone. Just remember, just always be very, very cautious. Be very, we have to love ourselves because we are responsible for how we allow people to treat us. We are responsible for our own safety as well.
Agreed.
So I just want to say thank you for just allowing me to, share my story on your platform because no matter how many times I tell it, it still hurts. And
I
I used to wonder why did this have to happen? I didn't know that this person could be a monster like that. But the writing is always on the wall, and I want to say that
it is.
anytime you see something that don't look right, it's something there. But no matter what, because a lot of times we don't identify what we're really looking for. We don't even know that we really are survivors or victims of circumstances that you could be going through and be like, oh, I didn't even know that's what what the name was. Oh yeah, I went through that, but I didn't know that that's what it was. So we have to always continue to raise awareness. We have to always to educate and let people know that these are the red flags and the warning signs that you need to really pay attention to.
Yep, and it could save your life. We're over time. I know how you feel, being a survivor as well. That's why this is what started what we do. Because I was brutally beaten, stabbed 6 times with a steak knife. So
Jesus.
by my ex. So I completely understand it's that survival, like just recouping and trying to get your life together. The scars are always there, but we share to help other people, just to let them know that you have a choice. And when you see those flags, go with your heart because it's real. Not to ignore those red flags. I'm thankful that you're still here. I want to ask real quick, we're at time, and I'm gonna let Sid close it out with shameless plug. Um, did they tell you how many times that he hit you
With
with
the
the
hammer,
hammer? Yeah.
they don't even know how many times that I was beaten with that hammer. All they knew that it was bad. They said the injuries that I did sustain. They they told me, well, ma'am, we don't even know who was praying for you because these injuries people do not survive. And I was asleep at that. I was asleep when he was beating me with that hammer. So I don't even know. I couldn't even defend myself. I had no knowledge of what was going on. All I can remember is hearing something in my head telling me that you're snoring. And I thought it was I thought he was, just saying that, but I didn't believe it. But then when homicide, they had me as deceased. So when homicide came to my bedside, they said that he told them he beat me with a hammer because I was snoring. So that's where I heard the snoring when he was saying it in my, while he was doing it while I was asleep. And I thought I was imagining it because I'm thinking I'm hearing something ringing like you're snoring. That's the way it sounded in my head. And I'm thinking like, oh, that ain't nothing. I don't know why I'm hearing that. But when homicide came, it was 4 men in those beige trench coats. I never forget. They came that night and told me that man told them he beat me with a hammer because I was snoring.
Whoa. Wow. Oh my God. Did he do how many years did he get? Is he in
They
there for life?
gave him, he's still in prison. They gave him a 12-year plea deal on attempted murder with intent to kill with injuries. So he still have 3, 4 more years to go. He's fired his lawyers in the beginning. He started doing a lot of stuff. We going to court. I'm very traumatized. Even the news media would go with me. I had advocates to go with me. I end up being in a metropolitan family service and being in therapy for 4 years. I remember doing the work to because I have the right to heal. Being a member of Crime Victim Compass, Crime Survivor Safety and Justice. I put myself in situations to be around people that have gone through some of the same situations. It may not be exactly the same, but I wanted to meet other people that can help me to be able to cope with what I've gone through and to give me the hope and the help that I need as well. You know, it's not no walk in the park, y'all.
No, it's not. Do you have kids by him?
No, I don't have any children by him.
You have kids by him. Okay. Oh Lord. Um. Okay. Oh Lord. I'm just thankful you're here, and I'm thankful that you were able to share your testimony with us, and continue to advocate for others. Resources and people looking is it's so and important. And you can Google Miss Yolanda Carter and see her testimony, her story. It is all over the internet. Just type in Yolanda Carter Chicago,
Yes.
and her story will pop up. As I mentioned, we're almost at time. Miss Yolanda, I want to thank you for being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken podcast. We truly appreciate you sharing your testimony, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Sid.
You all are welcome.
All right, we do like to give you the opportunity to participate in shameless plugs. As you can see, all of your information scrolling across the bottom here. If you want to give the viewers a little bit on how they can contact you, if there's something in your story that resonated with them, with how they can reach out, utilize your services, if there's any projects or anything that you advocate for that you want to draw traffic to, anything, you have the floor.
Yes, you can reach me. I have a few social media outlets. Yolanda Carter / Cake Mix on my Facebook page. Cake Mix 67 is my Instagram. You can also Google Yolanda Carter Chicago. That's my tagline. Just Google me. Everything about me will come up. I'm also a CEO and founder of a nonprofit called Beautifully Scarred. I may have gone through the fire, but I don't come out. I came out don't smell like smoke. I am like that phoenix rising above its ashes, and now I'm soaring. So yes, please, if you are, need someone to talk to, my information is on my website. Also, like I said, Google Yolanda Carter Chicago. Everything about me will come up, and you will be able to see it. So that's all I think I got for now. Also, one more thing. Um, October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I will be um, uh, with some women that doing a stage play. Um, it's on the October 18th, and we definitely gonna be doing our own event October 25th. We still in the workings with that. We haven't got the location or anything yet, but once we do, I will give you all the information. So yes, please support all things Yolanda Carter Chicago. Just Google me and just be able to follow everything that I do.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Yolanda. As we said, we're going to continue to share life experiences. And for women that are going through a domestic situation, please do not ignore the red flags. They are there. Miss Yolanda just gave you a whole testimony of her acknowledging, taking accountability of ignoring red flags and signs. And remember, you have a choice to leave. And if God opens that door and takes someone out, do not let them back in, because that is God removing them. And mostly, I want to say probably 95% of people that have been through a domestic situation, God has removed them, and we allow them back in. And it could be less, but just me personally being a domestic violence victim, and Miss Yolanda, we've experienced the same or similar situation. So if God gives you that out, please take that out. Abuse is not love. Abuse is not love. Someone that loves you will not try to hurt you. So please, please, please pay attention. We can prevent domestic violence if we just listen to the red flags. Sid, we're going to keep sharing life experiences, ain't we?
That's right.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in each and every Monday at 8 p.m. Like, share, and follow, and watch Unfiltered Unspoken podcast on YouTube, and join our chat group on Facebook, Unfiltered Unspoken Society of Survivors, Instagram, Unfiltered Unspoken, and we just launched our TikTok page, Unfiltered Unspoken podcast. We will be moving everything over there from the Good Fight to Unfiltered Unspoken podcast. So please tune in. Have a blessed day. Good night.